Hello everyone, it's the Tutor here. I am bringing you my very first tutoring time video. Now as you guys may know, as I've talked about in my previous videos, I am a Commander focused YouTube channel, and I figured why not talk about Commander stuff and kind of some common themes you'll see when playing Commander. Of course, one day in the future I'll talk about the top commanders, but that's not in today's video. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the top 10 most common cards you'll see in Commander. First, I want to give a big shout out to edrec.com. It's a great resource for finding this kind of information and kind of what kind of decks people are making the most. As you can see in the top commanders video, or this site, Atraxa's Praetor's Voice is the #1 most created deck with 35,902 decks made. Like I said, I'm not focusing on that, but today I'm focusing on top 10 cards you'll see in the Commander format. And we're going to start off at number 10. Now, at number 10, we have Blasphemous Act. Now, let me just open this in a new tab just so you can see it easier. So, Blasphemous Act is a 9-cost card, sorcery, fire, red. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each creature on the battlefield. Blasphemous Act deals 13 damage to each creature. Now, basically, you can just call this a board wipe. Every single creature will basically die to this card, and especially if you're behind on creatures, it's a way to kind of just get rid of everything and kind of start building yourself back up. Now, if we go back to this right over here, this is in 33% of decks. It's in 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, 10,000. There's about 2.7 million decks made, and it's about 900,000 decks. So red's a very popular color in the Commander format. And basically, if you're making a red focused Commander deck, you have Blasphemous Act in this card because it's just that good, being able to board wipe and kind of get back control against your Commander opponents. So that was number 10. Let's go to number 9. Number 9 is Farseek. Now this is in 34% of decks, and there's about 900,000 decks made. So let's take a look at what Farseek does. It's a 2-cost card, sorcery. You can search your library for a plains, island, swamp, or mountain card, put it onto the battlefield, tap, then shuffle. It's essentially just searching for your lands, being able to ramp up much easier. Now, why Farseek is so good is you can search for basically any land card. So if you're having a multicolored deck, obviously green's one of the colors. You can have, white, blue, black, red, and you'll be able to search for those basic lands, which can definitely help you get your commander out, and of course all the other creatures and spells that you have in your deck. And with a 100 card deck, it just being able to get those needed lands is very, very important. Now, like I said, this is in about 34% of decks, and 900,000 decks, 34%. So I'm kind of going really fast with these cards, but expect to see Farseek in the future if you are new to the Commander format. And usually, by the way, if you buy a pre-con, which is pre-made decks, you'll likely be seeing these cards inside of it. Alright, so we're going to go to Rampant Growth, which is basically a very similar card. It's in 910,000 decks. And this card reads as follows. Search your library for a basic land card, put that card onto the battlefield, tap, then shuffle. It's essentially exactly like the previous card. However, you can do forest. So it has a little bit more flexibility, but I mean, if you have a 100-card deck and unique card deck, and you can't have multiple Rampant Growths in your deck, so they basically serve the same purpose. So not much to add on this one other than it's just more flexible. It's the same cost. Now we're going to go to Beast Within. Now, as you can see, this is the third card in a row where it is a green card. So green's, of course, very popular. This is in 984,000 decks, which is about 37% of all decks total. Now this card reads, destroy target permanent. Its controller creates a 3/3 green beast creature token. This card is 100% in many of the green precons. It's just very good being able to instant cast this, as it is an instant, to be able to destroy a commander, destroy a high target, and they just get a 3/3 green beast with nothing. It's just a 3/3 creature. Is a very good trade-off. And that's why you see it in so many decks, just because it is such a single target. You know, you can take down those creatures very easily. So we'll move on to the next one, which is Counterspell, the very first blue card on the list, which is counter target spell. That's basically it. You can cast it at instant. They want to summon the commander, Counterspell. They have a border wipe, Counterspell. If they have a big creature they're sending out, Counterspell. You know, Counterspell is just such a simple but powerful card. Being able to have that great of flexibility all for the cost of 2 mana is incredible. And that's also why there's a ton of different just Counterspell-esque kind of cards that you can put in your deck. But of course, this is just 2 and 2 blue and counter target spell. It's very simple, very, very effective at doing what it's supposed to do. All right, so moving on to the next one is another green card, Cultivate, and this one is in about 1.2-ish million decks, which is about 45% of all of these decks. So we're basically in 50% of the decks. And now I know this is on just iRec. However, it's likely going to be mirroring a bunch of decks that you'll come across at your party or at game stores. Now let's see what Cultivate does. Cultivate. Search your library for up to 2 basic land cards. Reveal those cards, put one onto the battlefield tapped, and the other into your hand, and then shuffle. Now, as you can kind of see with the theming of all these different cards, they're very rampy. Being able to search for 2 basic lands and putting one on the field and one in your hand is a powerful effect. Being able to, like I said in the other cards, put your commander out and all these other cards that you have in your hand that you may need to cast. So for example, like let's just say you have a green and black card and you don't have any blacks, you can use this to be able to get a swamp in your hand. And all for the cost of just 3 mana. So I would definitely recommend putting this in your deck if you have a green card. All right, so let's move on to the next one. Path of Exile, which is the first white, I believe, on the board. 47% of all decks, 1.21 million decks. And this card reads as follows. Exile target creature. Its controller may search their library for a basic land card, put that card on the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. So it may seem like a downside for them to get a basic land, and it is. However, with it just costing 1 at instant speed, it is a game changer, especially if they try to put their commander out. And let's just say, for example, they're really low on cards in their hand. That's likely going to be later on in the game. However, if you just kind of stop them with just that one, what does 1 extra land mean for the other person? Not too much. And of course, being able to do it at your different opponents is also, calls for a lot of flexibility. And all for the cheap price of just 1. So that's why it is in, what was it, 47%? Yeah, 47% of decks right there. So we're going to move on to the next one. All right, so another white next. Sword of Plowshares, 63% of all decks, so that's in, more than half. So you'll likely see this card. So let's open this so you can see it better. Sword of Plowshares, 1 white. It's an instant, so same exact as the card previously. Exile target creature, its controller gains life equal to its power. I definitely think that is a much better card to play than the other one, Path of Exile, just because I think having one land is more powerful than a couple of life. Of course, there's instances where they get 10 life back, but if it's just to take down one of their creatures, which can in turn do X amount of damage to you, it's a very good trade-off. So, due to how cheap it is, having it be instant, and having not so bad of a downside is very, very good, and why it's in so many commander decks. All right. So let's move on. We're coming into the final few cards, which I believe this is number 2 on the list, which is Arcane Signet in 72% of decks. All right. Let's open this into the next tab. Arcane Signet, it reads 2 colorless, and you can add 1 mana of any color in your commander's color identity. Now, what that means, let's do something quickly. All right, so for example, Atraxa is just a green, white, blue, and black. These are colors in your commander's color identity. So being able just to have that flexibility of having it be either or can be very helpful, especially if you don't have just one of those necessary colors to get your commander out, or any other card in your deck, for example. And having it just cost 2, and being able to tap it right away is also very, very beneficial, which is why it's in so many decks. All right, so let's go to the next one, which is, in fact, of course, Soul Ring. In 84% of decks, there's no downside to having this card in your deck. It is that good. If you play a turn 1, you are target number 1 for your opponents, just because of how much ramp you can do. So let's take a look at what it does. Soul Ring, cost 1, you can tap it for 2. So turn 1, you already have plus positive 1 mana, just because, cost 1, get rid of this 1, you have 1 left over. Very incredible card. A lot of people, especially if you have turn 1, you play a land, you tap it for Soul Ring, you can tap the Soul Ring back to your Arcane Signet to put that out, and you're basically likely going to win the game just because of how far ahead you are compared to everyone else. Because being able to have 4 mana on turn 1 is simply incredible, and this is in like every commander precon just because of how powerful it is. You will see this card at basically anywhere you go, wherever you play commander. So I wanted to show you these cards just because I know they're going to be coming across in your games. And I hope this video was definitely very helpful. So let's take a look here just at the cards again. Number 10, Blasphemous Mact. 9, Farseek. 8, Rampant Growth. 7, Beast Within. 6, Counterspell. 5, Cultivate. 4, Path to Exile. 5, Sword of Plowshares. Arcane Signet at number 2, and then Soul Ring at number 1. Now, like I said before, I will be making a top 10 commanders video in the future, and I look forward to making that. And that's basically the end of the video. So thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to follow me on X. Don't forget to subscribe. It helps me out a ton. Thank you so much. You guys take care. Bye.